Hello and welcome to Eramis Soccer, our final episode of the 2023 CONCACAF Gold Cup. Myself, Stewart Flaherty, with our special guest, Justin Hoyte. Welcome, Justin.
How's things, mate? How's it going?
Very, very good. And we made it all the way to the final. We didn't take Trinidad with us. We didn't take our then adopted USA with us. We got Panama v Mexico. But a good game. Good game. Thoughts on the two teams? Any observations ahead of the kickoff, Justin?
No, it's as an outsider and a football soccer man, it's great to see a team like Panama, who people didn't expect to get that far, reach the final.
Yeah.
We all expected Mexico to get to the final. We knew that. They're a great squad. I look at their squad. Do I know a lot of the players? No. But I know they're very, very talented. I see Mexico have a whole huge pool of players that are all similar. Playing against them and seeing them play, they're all similar. They know how to play. And they're a well-drilled organization and they play a certain way and that's it. But I felt Panama deserved to get to the final. So this is why we've got the two teams we're about to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, watching Panama was probably one of the pleasant surprises of this tournament from me. We'll get into more detail, but really enjoyed the formation they played. Really enjoyed the central midfield field pairing, and just players you don't watch week to week. You know, I watch a lot of Premier League, watch a lot of Champions League, Europa League. Don't see a lot of Panama players, and really enjoyed the level. To catch everyone up on how these two teams got to the final, Mexico in Group B flew out of the gate. 4-0 win over Honduras, 3-1 win over Haiti. Went into the last game with Qatar, which was a little bit loaded against them psychologically. They'd already wrapped up first place effectively. Qatar needed to win to advance, so they have a 1-0 defeat to Qatar on the record, but I'm not sure how reflective that is. And Mexico advanced to the quarters in first place. Qatar as runners-up. Group C, Panama come out of the day with consecutive 2-1 wins against Costa Rica and Martinique. I've mentioned this before, but one quirk of both those games, they go up 2-0. They concede a injury time goal in both games. And the third game, they draw with El Salvador. They concede a third goal in 3 games in injury time, which should be a big issue usually. But the fact is they've topped this group 7 points, runners up Costa Rica on 4. And they go to the quarterfinals themselves. When we get to the knockout stage, Panama face Qatar and blow them away. Barcenas opens the scoring in the 19th minute, and then we have a hat-trick inside the space of 10 minutes from the very impressive centre-forward Diaz. Mexico, relatively comfortable, goals from Pineda and Sanchez guide them past Costa Rica 2-0. Semi-finals, we watched the USA-Panama semi-final. Very impressive performance by Panama. Sees them advance past the USA on penalties, and Mexico very, very comfortably stroll past Jamaica 3-0. So we get to this final. Lineups for the final. The Panama team, pretty similar to the team we see knock out the USA. Impressive Mosquero in goal, a back three of Cummings, Andrade, and Escobar. A midfield central pairing of Carrasquilla and Godoy. Right midfield in a 3-4-3 is Barcenas, Davis on the left, and then a front three of Diaz, Quintero, and Fajardo. For Mexico, more traditional 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it. The very, very famous Ochoa in goal. Vasquez and Montes as a centre-back pairing. Gallardo and Sanchez out wide. Midfield, holding mid, Edson Alvarez of Ajax, very impressive, with Chavez and Romo. A big old-fashioned target man in Martin up front, flanked by, I thought, very impressive pairing of Pineda and Antuna. Thoughts on the 11s? Anyone stand out to you in particular, Justin?
No, just the players that I'd say we've seen over the tournament. We talk about Panama players that we've seen over the tournament. Mexico, we haven't really covered them, so we didn't know much about them, but we know they're a good team.
Yeah.
Well drilled national team, I would say, with good individuals. But I feel like Mexico play well as a team. They're a team that's got to a final for a reason, and I feel like they've got strength and depth, and they've got squad players. If you
Yeah,
consider they've still not got a few of their top players, there's still a handful of amazing players that I'm sure we'll hear about in the future.
yeah. My thoughts on Mexico, I don't think 1 through 11 they blew me away, but they had a very strong spine. They had a very strong centre back in Vasquez. They have a very strong holding centre mid there in Alvarez. They have a powerful target man. They have 2 strong wingers. Romo was buzzing around the field. So in really key areas, they were very impressive. A pretty manic start to the game from Panamanic, if you will. Apologies for that horrific one. You've got Carrasquilla, he's the star of the semi-final. Uses the outside of his foot to slice the Mexican defense. Diaz and the centre-back Montes. He just beats him in a scramble back to clear, but there's an early shot across the bow from Panama, and this is a fun team to watch. We talked about in our last episode. It's 3-4-3. They have a pairing of Godoy and Carrasquilla, who I haven't researched, but it looks like these two have played a lot of games together. They have a very good understanding of where to move, how to connect with each other 1 and 2 touch. And they do the work that they're never outnumbered at the back in the 3-4-3, because those two wing backs will be up and down the field. It's fast, it's entertaining, it's fresh. They're a dangerous team.
Yeah, very dangerous team. I would say it's a team that has got to the final for a reason.
Yeah.
They move the ball quickly, and they're very dynamic in their play. They've got very tricky forwards, very fast attacking forwards. But I like the way they play. It's a really nice style of play. And what also is what you see about them is that they're not afraid and they don't shy away from a good tackle or two. The old school kind of tackles, they don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
Which is also dying in the modern game. But it's good to still see that they can fight and battle like that as well.
Yeah, I think it was notable because it's a back 3 in system, but it's really a back 5 because the first 2 Mexican attacks, it wasn't really an individual player. They were just kind of crowded out by numbers and nowhere really to go. And then Panama down the other end, they managed to carve out a 1v1. Quintero flies down the left flank. He squares the ball, and Vasquez drags down the striker, and he's got an early yellow card. Free kick goes into the wall. Follow-up driven straight to the goalkeeper by Barcenas, but never good to get your centre-back. And from what I can see, the rest of the game, your best centre-back on a yellow within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, if you get an early yellow card, or especially a centre-back early yellow card, you have to change the way you defend. You have to change the style of play, I would say, defensively. And also, you can't make any rash decisions because, if you do make them decisions, you're going to get sent off. So you have to change and adjust the way you do defend on an early yellow card.
Yeah. And a random observation as the camera panned out before the free kick was taken. This is a magnificent stadium. I believe
Amazing.
It's the Los Angeles Rams, the NFL franchise. And we have seen this. We've seen the game before at Snapdragon Stadium, which looks like it's built in a California valley. We've seen the St. Louis Stadium, which had, to me, a very European feel. The 26th World Cup is really going to be hosted in some very impressive arena. It's something America does very well for me.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think you look at the stadiums that they've built, not just the soccer football pitches, the NFL stadiums that they can use, that now the NFL stadiums are putting down grass, which is great. And they're using the stadiums now for football and soccer, which is unbelievable. And to think now that they've built these stadiums for these events, it's perfectly for it. You look at the stadium, the Rams Stadium, amazing what they've been able to do, amazing what they've been able to create. Cincinnati have done the same. And I feel that, like you say, they've done it very, very well. And I'm sure it's not too long before we see even more big stadiums going up in America. And And why not? You know, they've got the space, they've got the land, that's what they live for, that's what they can do. And it's a spectacle, it's an entertainment, and it's a battle of who has the best stadium. And we know that. So everyone tries to outdo each other. On the NFL side, and now, as you see, on the soccer side of it, which is now soon to develop, better stadiums, better facilities, better training grounds, better trade, just better facilities for everyone. So it has a knock-on effect, and I feel the NFL stadiums are a prime example, and set the stepping stones and set the bar really for sports and entertainment in America. And now basketball's going to follow them to new stadiums, and all these old stadiums now are going to be knocked down, and new fantastic ones are going to be built. And what a stadium! And I would love to have played at that stadium in the cup final for sure.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it really adds something visually, doesn't it? It's like it's something in human nature.
It's crazy.
Right? Coliseum, there's something about watching a game in an environment that's eye-grabbing that just adds a lot emotionally. Back to the game on the field. 14th minute, we got Davis playing in the forward Diaz down the left channel. He turns the Mexican fullback Sanchez inside out pretty effortlessly. Shot goes behind for a corner. Corner gets cleared to Carrasquillo, who kind of plays the ball back into Fajardo, but he's offside. There was shades of the late drama in the USA semi-final that play. But I think Panama are having the better start here. Diaz, Carrasquillo, Escobar, they're all catching the eye to me as the best players in the field in the opening 20 minutes. We get a chance from Mexico. There's a slaloming dribble from Pineda. He's inside, he's outside, he's beaten several men. He releases Antuna, who shoots right at Mosquera. But if Mexico have a threat in this first half, to me, it is the pairing of the wingers. Antuna on one side, Pineda on the other. Impressive pair of players. Thoughts on the Mexican wingers? You were a fullback. How do you rate these boys' 1v1 ability to dribble? Where do they stand in the world game?
Very highly. Good 1v1 wingers. And I would say playing against Mexico and knowing how they play, and they like their wingers to be nippy, tricky, fast, dynamic, and they go at you. And that's the way Mexicans play. And this is what they provided in this game, and this is what they're good at.
Yeah. 2 minutes later, Pineda, he takes a touch over the top. He's just looking to knock it over the defender and chase in behind, and he gets absolutely ended by Cummings. Smashes into him. Yellow card on both sides in the back line now. Then we have another Mexican player. He goes down late under a challenge from the Buck Cummins. Cummins is already on a yellow from the previous player. For me, this is a relatively obvious case of trying to dive and get the boy sent off. I think he should probably get a yellow card himself before Cummings gets a second yellow. The game stops after a couple of minutes, and then the Panama coach Christensen is actually booked. I think for saying what I'm saying now, that the Mexican fullback Sanchez, he's very obviously gone down trying to get
of course,
sent off. It's a dive looking for a penalty, and the Mexican should be booked himself. What do you think?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, that's play acting. Unfortunately, it's part of the modern game now. If the opposition's on a yellow card, you do try and get him sent off. Why? Because you have that man advantage. You know that he's at a disadvantage, and if you get that player sent off, you've got the majority of the game playing with a man ahead early on in the game, and you got to play it to your advantage. I don't like it, but is it part and parcel of the game? It is. It's part and parcel of the game. It's there's nothing you can do about it. Any little I would say any little thing or any little situation you can get one up on your opponent, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's part of the game. How many times we've watched games and the team we're supporting and the player's gone down in the box and he's got up straight away. Whereas, as fans, we'll be like, well, why didn't he stay down? Why didn't he pretend like he got kicked? Or why didn't he do a few more rolls and he would have won the penalty? That's just how it is. It's modern day. It's who you support. You're going to root for that. If I was on the other side of it, I would have been like, well, I'm going to try and get him sent off because obviously he tried to kick me. Yes, we didn't. But, you know, at that time, you might pretend that he got kicked just to get him sent off. That's to your advantage.
Yeah.
We don't like it, but it's part of the modern game. Same as time wasting. You know, when you're winning, you're all for it. When you're losing, you hate it. But at the same time, it's part of the game. You just have to get on with it and, you know, just make sure if you're on the yellow card, not to do nothing silly that nearly happened here, and if you're attacking and trying to get another player sent off, so be it. It's part and parcel of the modern day game.
I think what you said is why it'll never end, because obviously the Panama coach is angry about it, and in my eyes he's right, but the Mexico coach isn't on some sporting quest, to be fair. No. He's there quiet and hope it works his way, and I think the average pro level footballer and even college and youth level sees it as, I have the right to push as far as I can. They have the right to push as far as they can, and that's why the referee exists, to keep us all in line. So until the day comes where we all you know, take our side based on what's right and wrong rather than what team we support, things like this are never going to end. And me, sorry, what was that?
No, and then we talk about it, but I feel this is why VAR is in this game now.
Yeah.
Because then that takes away that one referee's decision. The referee sees it from his point of view, wherever he is from. He might have given another red card there. You turn it over to VAR. VAR was made the right decision. It wasn't a foul. It wasn't, you know? Yeah. So in that sense, this is probably why VAR is here and probably why VAR will be here for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think VAR almost proves that I'm right, because it's not like VAR comes in and we stop complaining. We just on something else.
And he probably would have done in, you know, throughout the game. Would he have tried to get him sent off again? Yes, probably.
Yeah.
If he was on a yellow card, you know, is the defender going to try and get the player sent off? Of course he's.
Yeah, it's a tough one the ref's in, because to me it's obvious that he's diving. To me it's obvious.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Ross Cummings as well. But like, there's got to be that bit of doubt in the back of the ref's head. Like, well, I think that, but if I am not absolutely certain of that and I can't mind read, I probably don't want to give this guy a yellow. So I do think there's a certain influence on diving for that reason. 29th minute, Panama flashed their quality on the ball again. Quintero to Diaz, who was the hat-trick hero from the quarterfinal. He started well here. He opens his shooting lane, very impressive, but then the shot not so impressive. Just blasts it miles wide. Mexico look like they've opened the scoring in the 33rd minute with a beautiful goal. The goalkeeper sends the ball forward. The big target man, Martin, knocks it down. Antuna, he dribbles inside. He feeds Pereira, who rolls it wide to Romo. One-touch cross, one-touch finish by Martin. Wild celebrations. And this, to me, Justin, is where VAR needs to be better, because Martin is showed as offside before the keeper even punts the ball. And then he's come back and touched the ball, and then a beautiful flowing move that leads to a goal and a celebration that blows the roof off the stadium and might last 2 minutes. It all gets dragged back after that for something that, for me, if you've got VAR and we can notify them earlier, there is less emotional footprint on these Mexican players, because it's got to be hard to have a huddle in the corner and be told after somewhere between 1 and 2 minutes of celebration that the goal doesn't count. That seems to me a psychological disadvantage that doesn't need to exist. Just, he was offside. You can see he's offside on the VAR. See it earlier and save us the song and dance and the ill will from the crowd that comes after this incident. What do you think?
I think that as well. That's where VAR needs to be better, a bit more timing. But what also is a tricky one is, we talk about that moment, but how often in games, probably in this game also, has there been an incident gone on and the game's gone on for the next 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden the referee gets a note in his ear that he needs to go to the screen and have a look, and then overturns it and then gives a penalty or gives a red card to someone.
Yeah.
You've just played 5 minutes. The game's gone on for an extra 5 minutes. You know, someone could have scored. There could have been something else happen, but all that would have been cancelled out because of a 5 minutes decision earlier.
Yeah.
From VAR. So that's where I understand. Yes, you're right. It needs to be a bit quicker. But But I understand it takes a little while because at the same time, you don't want to pause the game for too long. You want the game to flow. It's a final. And you need to make sure you're 100% right with your decision. So you must have to look over film. There's not just one person, there's a few people. So I think everyone has to agree on it before it gets to given the green light.
Yeah,
So that's probably why it also takes long.
I don't know what the soccer equivalent is, but one thing I enjoy in the NFL is like flags. Like there is we have a 70-yard touchdown and there's a yellow flag on the field, the touchdown might count or it might not count, but we at least all know there's at least a hang on there.
Yeah.
Wow, jubile and celebration that then the referee goes, actually, no. I don't know if it's a different color, two different color flags from the linesman. I don't know if it's thrown an object on the field, but there's got to be something where we as a crowd of, 80,000 people know that this goal is in doubt. And we do like half the torture of VAR is people now don't know whether they can celebrate goals or not. I get that a lot from fans that like, you celebrate the goal and in the back of your head, you're waiting for some random VAR. Like I would love to see an in-between where we know that there's a VAR review coming and we know that this goal is potentially no good. And the end result, if we can pull that off, is when you see a goal and everything's clear, then we can celebrate like we did before VAR existed. Which is, the moments the fans attend the games for, it's the moment the players play for. And it is, I hate to see it when there is a big emotional celebration and it's called back minutes later. I really dislike that element.
It will happen in the World Cup final, probably.
Yeah, right. And the emotional footprint of that incident is still there after it. The crowd is going insane. Karaski and Martin are irritated. They're chirping at each other after Martin's grab Karaski around the neck. The ref's face is interesting because to me, he's showing very much signs of nerves and anxiety when they zoom in on him. We try and move on, but this is like a cauldron right now. It's 0-0 in a final. The crowd's going nuts. The players are irritated. Like, to me, this is where the big players come out to play, like moments like this, right?
Yeah, it is. And this is when the individuals take over, the ones that remain focused and calm and dedicated to their craft and know how to turn a switch and turn it on from there on to get the match winner or to raise the level of the team.
Yeah. And we talk about big players, big moments. In the middle of all this, in the 43rd minute, a magnificent save. Pineda with a diagonal ball to Romo, who's, again, he's lively, he's buzzing around, he crosses it to Pineda, and Mosquera comes out with an absolutely fantastic save. The ball rebounds to Martin, he gets up, he saves again. That's the save of the tournament that I've seen so far in the 6 games that we've watched. And to do it in that moment, that is a big play and speaks very well for the ability and also the mindset of the Panama goalkeeper, Mosquera.
It does, yeah. And like we say, you need big players in big moments. And what of time when your goalkeeper's needed to make a huge save like that, settle some nerves and be able to go into the half at 0-0.
Yeah. And spoiler for the tournament, best 11, Ochoa. We all know Ochoa. He's had some magnificent games. He's had good games at World Cup. In isolation, this tournament, what I've seen, I was more impressed with the Panama goalkeeper than the Mexico goalkeeper. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, Ochoa, he's experienced. Everyone knows him. Everyone knows who he is. He's the captain for a reason. Well experienced player, well experienced goalkeeper, the legend, I would say, in the Mexico ranks. But Mosquera is just as good as a keeper. I feel like he's still developing. He's still getting there. But I think he played really, really well, not just in this game, but throughout the tournament.
Yeah. Shot wide from Godoy. Half-time arrives. Classically balanced first half for me. Panama, the better team in the opening part of the half. I thought as it progressed, Mexico started to take the upper hand. The Mexican front three started to be more involved. Who's the better team 1 through 11? I think it's very much up for debate. I do think Mexico have the most dangerous front three in this game, thanks to the wingers. And the XG is a goal higher, 1.68 to 0.68 in favor.
Here we go. Statistics, man. SGs.
That's all. But that to me is a big, big difference. But I didn't think that watching the game. I thought the game when I'm watching it, I thought it was pretty level. But that XG is probably as glaring and as big a gap as I've seen. And it's Mexico with the higher XG by a full goal. I know you love XG.
You know my thoughts on SG and XG and whatever. I'm more of a results person, but you go into the half 0-0. You could have the best stats and lose the game, and you lost the final. But it's part and parcel of the game, and I understand it.
So here's a question for you: if you're coaching either of these teams, is there any significant alterations you would make watching this first half? Is there any area where one team needs to sort of fix, or you can see this final slipping away? Or are you in a
I just think it's the two teams that are battling very, very well. I think Panama caught Mexico by surprise. I thought Mexico thought this game might have been easier. I felt they thought they was going to play against the US, a battle, but I felt like Panama shocked them, and it kind of showed in the first half performance by both teams.
Yeah. Panama, first chance, second half, Barcenas digs out across. Quintero very, very easily loses the fullback Sanchez at the back post. I don't think this guy's had a very good game, to be honest with you. He's created space far too easily. The header goes back across the goal and it's wide. The other Mexican fullback, Gallardo, he gets himself a yellow card soon after. Carrasquilla, I've said this about 700 times in the last two episodes. He plays a defense splitting ball. He finds Quintero. Gallardo's under pressure. He drags him down. We've got another defender on a yellow. Mexico, very familiar pattern of attack. The winger Antuna goes down the wing, puts a cross in. The big target man Martin, who is a problem for centre backs. He's big and he's strong. He heads it down to Alvarez, and the centre mid Godoy makes the play, recovering and breaking it up. They recycle the attack. Romo sends in a cross. It's cleared over his own bar by the impressive and sizable centre back Escobar. I actually remember him from the last round where he bangs home the penalty and stares down Matt Turner. So this guy's got a little bit of a presence about him. And as we reach the hour mark, Alvarez, the very impressive holding centre mid, becomes the fourth Mexican to receive a yellow card. Not ideal in a tight final, because I feel like as a coaching staff, half of you is looking at the game now of who's doing what to who, which player's winning his individual matchup, which player's not. But now you have a second layer of which of these four guys are potentially going to get sent off. Where do you stand on, if you were a coach, Justin? Are you got 4 goals? If you got 4 guys on a yellow, are you have to sub one of them off in the last half hour, or do you just trust them that they're professionals and they know they've got a yellow and they're not going to get you in trouble?
It depends on the individual.
Yeah.
If you're asking me what I'd do with myself if I was on the yellow card, I'd say you can play the rest of the 90 minutes and I'd probably play 150 minutes. Yeah. If it's another player I've played with, 1 or 2, I'm saying no, we need to get him off because he's running a thin line that he could probably potentially get sent off. He's a hothead, so we need to be careful of him. Yeah. So I guess it's on personnel. I'd say also based on positional play, and also if they've made another rash tackle and the referee's like, right, you got 1 more, you're going to be sent off. So a lot has to be taken into consideration. There's a lot for a coach to think about during that situation, but I really do think it depends on the individual, the position they play, and how they're performing in the game, because some people could be frustrated in the game and kick out and lash out and get a silly yellow card. Some people could be buzzing that they're playing well, but unfortunately got a yellow card, but that doesn't affect their play. Yeah. So in that sense, it does really depend on the individual, and a lot of consideration has to be taken before you make your substitutions. Yeah.
First Panama subs come on. Big veteran striker Waterman and the other forward Anderson are on for Quintero and Davis. These subs are not downgrades. I thought Waterman played very well when he entered the semi-final against the USA, and Anderson scores the winning goal in that game. So this is very much a case of fresh legs and a new threat rather than depleting the lineup with these subs. 64th minute. This is insane. Cummings gets red carded for a second yellow for a foul on the winger Pineda. The replay shows it's a dive, which is a damn shame to me that the refs fooled. The refs go to VAR, they meet, whatever they do. They then take the second yellow away from Cummings, so now he's not sent off, he's back on. They give the yellow card to Godoy. So it is a free kick. They fell for the dive, but they've sent a guy off, they've called him back, and they've moved the yellow card from one guy to the other. So now Panama's upset that they've had a guy sent off, and then the guy comes back, and Mexico's upset it's been reversed. And this is just the second incident from the refereeing, which to me is a disaster. Think of this.
Carnage. I feel like he lost the plot. Total carnage. It's carnage.
Yeah.
Referee's wrong. That could have been bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to make these decisions right, especially in a final. I don't think there's any room for error for mistakes, especially in a cup final when there's so much so much at stake, especially for Panama. Because if Panama went on and won that game, that changes their whole life, the players' life, the country's life, the life in soccer in the country, in the city. And but as a Mexico, you see a player getting sent off, you're buzzing. Do you know what I mean? 10 men, your second half, 60 minutes in, you're buzzing. You're thinking, oh, great, he's sent off. We're going to play with 10 men for the next half an hour. We can win this. We can take this. So it does take a lot out of you, not just physically, but mentally also.
Yeah. 66th minute. Pineda cross to Antuna, head straight at the goalkeeper. Less than a minute later, they come back again. Panama's starting to creak now. Pineda fires a shot wide. Pressure's starting to build here. It's released when they create a chance at the other end. The substitute Anderson, he starts a move that ends up with the extremely impressive Carrasquilla playing him in, and Ochoa stuffs with a good save, but it's offside anyway, so that save doesn't count, which I will use if people want to debate me on my selection for goalkeeper of the tournament. Mexican pair, coach shuffles his pack with 15 minutes left. Antuna for Alvarado. Chavez replaces Sanchez. The next play is a ball into the Mexican box. Diaz juggles it up in the air, tries a spectacular scissor volley that goes over the bar. I feel like if that goal went in, it would have been the greatest goal in Gold Cup history. We go into the last 15 minutes here, and this game's on a knife edge. I think Mexico looks slightly more impressive, but I think Panama look more than capable of catching them on the break, finding that centre mid Carrasquilla, releasing that front three, and both teams, you can see a way that they would both score. Pineda on the ball again, gets completely bowled over by Escobar on the edge of the area. It's not given. To me, it's more of a foul than two that have been given, and maybe this is a case of boy that cried wolf, right? You keep going down, keep diving. I do believe potential it starts to work against you.
Yeah, 100%. But it's clearly shown in that instant there, and if he wasn't rolling around the floor and diving previously, he probably would have got that. He probably would have got that decision to go for his way and for his team. Unfortunately, when you cry wolf too long, you don't get what you wanted. Yeah.
We enter the final 10 minutes. Substitute Sanchez teed up 25 yards out, drags his shot wide. 84th minute. This is a historic sub. 6 minutes left. Martin gets subbed off for Jimenez. He's disappointed to come off, shakes his head, shows the body language. He can be as disappointed as he wants because Jimenez ends up scoring a goal. And this Mexican crowd is very, very excited about this sub. They erupt for Jimenez, and it's very clear that they're excited about this boy. Gallardo quickly flashes a ball across goal. Nobody's on the end of it. And we enter the final 5 minutes of the game scoreless. 87th minute, Basanas forces a turnover in the Mexican half. He drives forward, curls a shot wide. game on right now. Anderson, Megs Gallardo pretty easily. I don't think the Mexican fullbacks are great on either side, to be honest with you. He crosses the ball, and the defensive centre mid for Mexico, Alvarez, charges back into his own box, breaks up the play, and what could be a game-saving play, where he's stopped a goal there with 3 minutes left, turns into a game-winning play because he makes the block, he plays the ball to Pineda, Pineda plays the ball forward and finds a substitute, Jimenez. Panama's shape is up for question because Jimenez immediately is in a 1v1 against Cummings, going to goal. Cummings has no cover. He beats him pretty easy with a good touch, carries the ball forward, rolls the ball past Mosquera for an 88th minute game winner. You're a high level defender. Why is he 1v1 near the halfway line with no cover? Like, is this fatigue? Is this tactically reckless because they're trying to win and not draw? Is it naivety? Like, what are you seeing when you watch this goal play out from Panama?
All of the above.
Yeah.
All of the above.
That answers it clearly.
All of the above, just because they look like they want to go out and attack and win, but at the same time they forgot about their defensive responsibilities. And that's probably as simple as it is. They forgot about their defensive responsibilities. They probably thought they could defend good 1v1, but obviously they've got overdone, and then they made the wrong decision. Was it a tactical thing by the coach? Probably not. Was it individuals making their decision? Probably. But at the end of the day, it's cost them a goal, and it cost them a chance to get to extra time in the Gold Cup.
And that to me is the beauty of the game. And I think some people are sort of impinging on the beauty of the game by awarding moral victories to teams that attack, whether they get the results or not, because the goal is to attack, but attack in such a way that you're always disciplined, you can always defend counterattacks, and you always protect your own goal. And what's brutal about this sport, and it adds to the drama when you're watching games, is, like, to me, a 0-0 is never boring because of this, is one slip. Very impressive tournament, a very impressive game.
Yeah.
One slip and it's over for them and you don't get it back. Brutal. But also on the other end for Mexico, glorious, right? They just see it the other way. Alvarez has made a great play. He's charged back onto his own box. He's made the defensive play Panama can't. He's found his winger. His winger's found the forward, and the guy's made a game-winning play. But what a moment that is. 91st minute, desperation sub from the Panama coach, Christiansen. I do not blame him. Centre forward Londono is thrown on for Cummings. Mexico make a sub a minute later for Reyes. I'm going to guess, I've never seen Reyes play, but I'm going to make a solid guess he's a better defender than Pineda, who comes off. Trying to burn a bit of clock. Carrasquillo loses out on a challenge. Sanchez forces a save from Mosquera, and it's a corner for Mexico. And a bigger problem than the corner for Panama is seconds are just ticking and burning out right now. Panama can't get out of pressure. I don't know if panic's setting in. Escobar is now dispossessed by a combination of the substitute. I didn't get the name or the number in Jimenez, but 10 Barcena comes back to break up the attack. We got one last chance. Carrasquillo goes down swinging. God bless him. Finds the sub Londono, who is fouled as stoppage time expires. And another moment, we got the best guy of Panama, Carrasquillo. He's over a free kick. The clock's ticking down. The goalkeeper is up into the penalty box. They have their chance. It's headed clear. And we get the unusual sight of a goalkeeper booked for a foul on a player 80 yards away from his own goal. And then the final whistle and victory for Mexico. It was a very, very hard game. It was a very, very well-balanced game. I don't think you can call this undeserved from Mexico. What do you think?
No, you can't. They deserve to win. As you say, they're a tournament-based team. They know how to get the victory done. They know how to defend well as a team, as a unit. And at the other end, they've brought on a substitute. When I say it's a squad game, you bring in a substitute and he scores the winner. So I felt, were they the best team on the night? Probably not. But they was able to get the job done and get the result that was needed right at the last minute. So yeah, you have to credit Mexico for what they've been able to achieve in this game and the tournament.
And I think what's disappointing is you hear, it doesn't matter, USA didn't send the best players. I think it's fair to say the USA don't get to dictate what matters in a
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they didn't win.
tournament. You know, like if the argument is the Gold Cup is not Copa America, I agree. If the argument is the Gold Cup is not the Euros, I agree. But if the argument is the 2023 Gold Cup doesn't matter because USA sent so and so, no, I don't think that holds up, and I don't think that's reasonable. USA made that decision. FIFA and world football don't now devalue the tournament. When we look back in history 20 years from now, the 2023 Gold Cup is going to count in historic value exactly the same as the 1990 whatever Gold Cup. And I think that's important to remember because we do live in this this age where everyone seems to decide that they get to pick the value of something, but this is CONCACAF's regional tournament. It's always going to be. And if one nation decides it doesn't matter, then that's that nation making that decision. The competition not counting. What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's right. I mean, you can't disregard a tournament. A tournament's a tournament. You know, you look and you read the press and you read about fans and they say, yeah, but it's not our best team. It's not this, it's not that. So what would they say if they sent their best team and the best team didn't even make it out of the group stages? Oh,
Yeah.
well, we should have played our youngsters. We should have given them a chance. You know, why did we play all the old players, experienced players? We need to save them for later on. Give the young ones a try. It's a tournament. Let's see what they can do. That's what people would be saying.
All right, well, they already kind of are because what I've heard now is even though they played all these young players, well, they should have played the Olympic team.
And that's what I mean, yeah. Because, yeah.
That's fine. Like, I see the logic in that. But Mexico winning doesn't not count now. You know, like professional soccer players very, very rarely win trophies in their career. Lots of great, great players will go their entire career. Look at Harry Kane right now. Never won anything. I'm not even using it as criticism. It's hard. Here you've got a striker who scored a winning goal in a regional tournament. You've got a team that's added a medal to their career trophy. I think it matters. I think well done, Mexico.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, no matter what anyone says, it's a tournament. You're going to want to win. You know, did Mexico send all their best players? Probably not. But at the end of the day,
I know they didn't because surely Barcelona, at the very least, off the top of my head, the Sevilla guy, he's going to be in there, right?
Yeah, of course. So at the same time, they didn't send their best team, but they still won a tournament. Yeah. No one's going to look at their squad and say, oh, it wasn't their best player. It wasn't this, it wasn't that. We all know they didn't take it, but they didn't make a single dance about it. They got on with it. It's a tournament. They want to win it. And they went and done it, you know. Congratulations to them for playing well. Panama, they had a lot of probably their best players, but they had a squad also, and they was able to get to where they needed to get to. No excuses, no, you know, hard feelings. I just feel the US national team is similar to the English to England in that front. You know, soccer versus football, football versus soccer. You know, everyone always says, "Oh, England get the Europeans easy. They get the easy games, bloody, bloody, blah." But when they don't win the Conference Cup, everyone's like, "Well, why are they playing this player? Why are they doing that? Why don't they experiment? Why don't they play young players?" You know, so it's like you can't please everyone because they're gonna say, if you do something, you do. If you do, you're damned if you don't. You know, you play the experienced players, you don't win. Well, no, it's time for the youngsters. They're past it. Why are we still playing this one? He's old, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's your opinion. You play the young ones. They don't do very well. Oh, no, it's not a tournament for young players. You know, they need experience. They need tournament football.
Yeah.
You know, we need to play the experienced players. You know, it's a thin line between wanting and actually getting that, you know. Yes, young players need to play in tournaments and experience the highs and lows of it and playing with experienced players. At the same time, yes, experienced players, European players need a rest because it's a hard season. They're going to another hard battle. But at the same time, you represent your country no matter, you know, how difficult and tired you are, just because you know that tournament could open up anything for the country, you know? Okay, it's not Copa America, it's not the World Cup qualifiers or the World Cup, but it's still a huge trophy that a lot of these nations want to win.
Agreed.
You know, and it's a trophy. Every player wants to win a trophy. You look at Mexico, they're happy they won. You know, so yeah, I mean, you just can't please everyone.
All right. And we all know Trinidad didn't send their best team because you're here. So
I'm still waiting. Still waiting for that last little call up. I think I'm going to try and lace my boots up one more time, try and get that call up.
So our best 11, it has 6 Panama, 3 Mexico, 1 Canada, 1 USA player. I'm aware Mexico won the tournament. We're just going on individuals. Like, who would you like to, if you were given a blank checkbook, who you'd buy first? I think a lot of these Panama guys showed very, very well, but that takes nothing away from the Mexican victory. Goalkeeper, Mosquera from Panama, with honorable mention to Ochoa from Mexico and Turner from the USA, who was very impressive in the Canada game. We went with a 3-5-2, back three of Vasquez from Mexico, Escobar from Panama, who I thought was excellent in both the USA games and the final, and Vittoria from Canada. That might be a debated pick given they went out in the quarterfinals, but I thought he played very, very well. I thought he stood up very well to a strong USA attack. The other options, the DeJuan Jones, good player, not really. The other Panama and Mexican defenders, not from me. Richie Laria from Canada as a wing back, maybe. Brian Reynolds as a wing back, maybe. But we settled on the back three of Vasquez, Escobar, and Vittoria. Left mid, Davis from Panama. I thought he was excellent. There was other good left flank players. Damari Gray from Jamaica, obviously scored a lot of goals, had a good tournament. Liam Miller from Canada, I thought was very good. Pineda from Mexico, I thought was very good. But what struck me about Davis is his ability to contribute going forward, but also his ability to drop back and play left back in a back five again and again and again in what's a difficult system for a wide player, a 3-4-3. Midfield 3, Alvarez holding mid for Mexico, very strong, base of the midfield. Like I said, right there at the end of the game, he's made a great defensive play and turned it into the game-winning goal. And then in front of him, the centre-mid pairing of Godoy and Carrasquilla, who game after game played systemically as a midfield 2 against 3 and got on the ball and made plays again and again and again while doing significant defensive work. Right flank Antuna from Mexico, and a front 3 of the top 2 scorers at the tournament. Ferreira from USA with 7 goals, and Diaz from Panama, who was a constant threat in the latter stages, and blew Qatar away with a hat-trick in the quarterfinal. Other players who missed out, Pineda from Mexico, Leon Bailey from Jamaica, all very impressive, but I feel pretty good about the selected 11 here, and I was expecting the tournament to give the Golden Ball Award of best player to a winning player, but they didn't. They gave it to the centre mid Carrasquilla from Panama and the Houston Dynamo. So that tells you how impressive this guy was throughout the tournament.
Yeah, well deserved. I like him. I liked him. Houston. He's one of their main players, and he's a focal figure. And you can see how good he's been in this tournament. You look at some of the passes he's made, how comfortable he's on the ball, the assists he's done in games. And, as we say, normally they give that trophy to the winning team, but for someone to get it on the losing side just shows how good he was in that game and how good he has been in this tournament throughout.
Now at Houston, he's not a rose among thorns because he plays midfield with the spectacular, I believe, Herrera of Atletico Madrid fame. But has he played so well that a European team might swoop and try and take him away from the Dynamo here?
Not yet. Not yet. I don't think just yet. I think at the end of the season he'll be judged on how well he does. But I'm sure he'll be definitely on the radar of a few European clubs.
Yeah. Goalkeeper Mosquera, centre back Escobar. Thoughts on those guys?
Goalkeeper we spoke about, very, very good throughout the tournament. Escobar defended very, very well. Good, solid defender. He's performed well, and you have to credit Panama, not just them two, but we say defending units, but you have to compliment the whole team on their defensive side of it. They've played a certain system and they've played to it well. That's why they've got to a final. But Mosquera has made some huge saves in the tournament. and that's why they're in the final also.
All right. So great tournament. We started with Trinidad. We end it with Mexico via USA, Canada, and Panama. Really enjoyed spending the time with you. Enjoyed watching the games. And let's look into covering another tournament sometime in the future. Thank you all for listening.
Cheers. Thank you. If it's not a tournament, we can cover something else.